Good afternoon, everybody. I'm really pleased to be here today to share some of the really interesting work that we are now doing in Totnes. So, just bear with me while I get used to this. So, Totnes is a market town in southwest England. The maps show you that it's right down in Devon, and it's a very small town nestled in amongst the hills. It goes back to Saxon times. It's about nearly 2,000 years old. And we have a population of nearly 9,000 people. Like many places, we have the big challenges. We have the challenges of climate change. But in Totnes, we've also been looking at peak oil. And what has come in more recent times is the huge hit of austerity, which our government is pushing forward very hard with. That austerity is also hitting us at the local level. And one of the things that's been happening in Totnes is that the austerity that is coming from our national government is causing a lot of hardship to people at the very lower end of the social scale. This affects our housing prices, it affects our rentals, but also we have quite a few people wanting to move into the area. It's become a very popular town. So this has pushed the prices up. And the ratio between the income that people have and the cost of housing is one of the highest in the UK. So it's very, very difficult for young people or people on a low income. One of the challenges that we have in Totnes is because it's such an old town, we have the highest number of listed buildings, which means we have a lot of expensive old buildings that not only do we have to look after, but also it's very difficult to bring in any measures to actually mitigate climate change. For example, it's very difficult to even have double glazing in some of those buildings, let alone put solar panels on the roofs. But what we've done in Totnes is, as a town council, we've taken on board what's happening with our transition movement. Transition started in Totnes in 2006. And it's an organisation of people, mostly volunteers, who've decided to take this seriously and do something about it. And that's what I'm going to share with you this afternoon. So behind me, you can see on the screen, starting at the top left, is we have an anaerobic digester, which is producing energy from the human manure. That brochure you can see is our Eco Homes, which is a big fair that took place last weekend in Totnes. It's been happening for 4 years. And people come and have a look at other people's houses where they've taken some of the simple measures. The building on your right is the old town mill that used to produce energy from water, a small water turbine, for the woolen industry. At the moment, that's just the information centre, but there are plans to bring energy back from that water that's still there. And that below it is a solar panel that's actually on my own roof of my own house. And in the middle at the bottom is one of the big old buildings that is a vet's now. And as you can see, they have a lot of solar panels on their roofs. The building in the middle is a straw bale house. And there's 3 of those now in Totnes. And this is what's interesting, is that we were able to bring that through planning. There's a can-do attitude that has allowed that to come in. And it's a very warm, cosy house, and it's virtually a passive house. And then on the bottom left is a turbine that we will be bringing in, which will provide energy for about 6,000 homes, and that's in our water on the weir. It's an Archimedes screw. So one of the things that we do have in Totnes is we have a real enthusiasm to build economic resilience. So we have a lot of local shops, we have a marketplace, we have a new really exciting enterprise happening with transition called Re-Economy. And we have a big centre where people can come and learn about how other people are facing the challenges and how they can share ideas, they can set up projects, and they can actually incubate little projects. We also have Totnes Money. As you can see, the £21 note has been very popular. And that keeps money local. That's really important, to keep the money local. It can only be traded in Totnes, and there's about £10,000 of those in circulation. We share skills, we have free workshops, and we have the gift economy, where we give things to each other. And also we are growing food. We are looking at how we can grow food locally and encourage people to have food in their own gardens. We have tubs that are just, as you can see that young boy there, that's on just one of our public gardens. It's full of food that people can just pick as they walk past. They can have some salad things, or they might pick some tomatoes on their way home from work. And in the middle you can see people coming together to do some of these growing exercises. The picture in the middle with the trees, this is one of our projects, which is to be the nut tree capital of UK. I don't know if we'll achieve it, but so far we've got about 500 nut trees planted, almonds and things like this, so that we can try and be more self-sufficient in our food at a local level, but also that people can actually help themselves to that food. And in the bottom left, you can see people with their allotments. And this is where the town council has supported local food growing, because that's town council land that we lease out to people. There's about 30 allotment holders, and they work together, they produce a lot of food, and they have a lot of fun. And that's right in the middle of our town. We also recognise that people need to have a sense of well-being, and community gardens are a really important part of that. The bottom right-hand side is Leachwell Garden, which is a beautiful garden that has come together from people working together, and we use it for all sorts of events that we have communally. But also the doctors now in our surgery are giving green prescriptions, so people with depression, people who just don't get out enough or have enough friends, they can go along to various sessions which are set up, and they can join in the gardening, or they can just sit and watch other people doing it, or they can have a cup of tea with those people, but it's free, and they can just do it, and it's bringing people forward and bringing that community and making people happy again. And also you can see that people are growing things together. And those sheep, that's town council land, and it was just a locked gate up until about 3 years ago. But as a town council, we have pushed to cut down our costs, so we don't pay anybody to cut the grass. The sheep do it for us, and we're producing organic lamb. Transport is a really big issue for anybody trying to cut back on use of energy and fossil fuels. And we have a lot of cyclists in Totnes, but we also have a lot of hills. And the doctor's surgery, again, has been very supportive. So that bicycle, the lower one you can see, is actually at the doctor's surgery. It's an electric bicycle, and people can use it if they want to. It's been put there for nothing. Just help yourself and try it out and enjoy using it. Just book it out. As a town council, we've made a lot more bicycle racks available, and we've encouraged people who want to get out and have events on the roads, which are a bit dangerous at the moment, and this is quite a challenge. In Totnes, we are the breaking point in one of the national cycle routes, and we have a big problem with a couple of landowners that won't let that cycle route pass through at the moment. But we're pushing for it, and we're keeping at it, and we're not going to give up. On the bottom left, you can see Bob the bus. That's our community bus, and that's driven by volunteers. We have 3 of those buses, and they take people up and down the high street, they take people to their homes, and they serve the local villages that surround our market town. We also have a car club. That top right is one of the car club's cars, which we've made available in the town centre. We give a free parking space. And a lot of people now, I think there's about 50 people are members of that car club, so they can actually share a car. They don't have to own it. They just pay for what they use per hour, and it's about, I think it's £5 an hour. It's very good value. But nevertheless, we have disputes, and that Totnes one way up is a problem because we don't get the leadership nationally to help us with transport solutions. And so it's become a bit of a breaking point in Totnes as to which way the traffic can go to try and reduce that congestion. But one of the things that we do recognise in Totnes as one of our problems is that we have youth, we are losing our youth all the time because they can't afford to stay there. So as a town council, we're trying to support them. And as you can see, they've been protesting at the cuts, which have affected them quite dramatically. And in England now, young people have to pay for their college fees as well as their accommodation. They don't get grants anymore. But we have a big skate park in Totnes where a lot of young people go. Those young people sitting at the bottom are at a skate jam. They've been setting up a reusable table to actually just exchange goods as part of our gift economy. And we try to support them every way we can. My pledge this year as Maire has been to support them and try and raise some money for some of the projects they're doing. Young people have got quite involved in waste, and waste is a big issue like it is in most places, but we try to look at it as a resource, and we've been trying to get more and more projects going that use that waste because it keeps that resource local. So we have a restore, which is actually reskilling people to mend furniture, and then we have refurnish, which is an outlet for that furniture to be sold, which also helps people on a low income to actually avail of some of that old furniture, and it's less waste going to the incinerator. One of the problems that we have had now, though, is that we have major developers. As part of the austerity, national government thinks it's a good idea that we have more houses built, which of course we need to some extent. But where we are, we have a lot of empty houses. These are second homes, probably a lot of places similar in France. So what we're looking at is how these developments can actually be looked at seriously and challenged. And what we're challenging them through is a process called neighbourhood planning. And this is a new measure that has been afforded us in the UK to actually challenge some of the developments. But it's not easy, because we actually, as a local level, have to bring volunteers together to spend a lot of time doing the work of planners. And nobody's really an expert, so we're just learning as we go along. But we've been doing consultation, and we have good ideas. And that bottom left, the Atmos project, was launched yesterday by Transition Town Totnes, and it's a new project right by the station. And the top right is what it looks like at the moment with the barbed wire. It was an old bottling plant for the dairy industry, and they want to turn it into live-work units for a couple of hundred people. It's going to be a very exciting project, and we're really lucky. This is where Transition Town, in our town, is a really good opportunity to work with us and give us the ideas and have the expertise. So we've been asking people, what do they like about Totnes? And the bigger the word, that's what they really like. They like our shops, they like our heritage, they like our community. What would they change? Well, they don't like our traffic, they don't like our congestion, they don't like the fact we don't have much housing. And some people feel that we don't have theatre and clothing, but maybe they just haven't looked, because we've got all those things if they look and find them. But one of the things that we did ask in terms of graphs was what they felt was the opportunities. And as you can see, Transition Town came up very high. One of the things that we felt was a threat, interestingly, people didn't see climate change as such a threat. And I find that quite interesting. I wonder if we're really getting our message out of how serious the problem is. But we do work on the basis that unsustainable growth is a real problem. And this is the basis of Transition Town. So we have all these projects going on now. We have seed swaps, which is in Europe, as we know, some people are trying to stop us being able to save seeds, but we are swapping them anyway. We have lots of really interesting meetings with discussions with experts. We have workshops, we garden together. We have big world cafes, which is a new way of actually people expressing themselves and bringing their ideas forward. We have big community suppers. About once a month, there's about 200 people come together, and they bring their pot of their food, and they share it, and they sit down and make new friends. We have film nights. We have a film festival coming up in November. And on the bottom right, that Transition in Action is a book that I was privileged to be able to put together as a Plan B, which actually carries on energy descent right through to 2030, bringing a lot of these ideas together and weaving them together into a realistic plan, which has actually probably been one of the most detailed plans for energy descent that anybody's yet produced. But the key to transition, which is what we support in our town council, it's not just about scientific facts, which of course have a real good basis. It's about how do we feel about these things? How do we get people to actually think positively? And we do that by not pushing fear. Fear is a very big problem for a lot of the groups that are kind of telling us the information, because people just are rigid with fear. But when we say, well, you can do things, there's lots of things you can do in your own lives. And so we do practical actions. So it's the hands, which is practical, the heart, which is how we feel and bringing on awareness and feeling positive, and also the science. We actually obviously have to use the science. And transition has spread. We're really proud in Totnes that it has spread right around the world. And you can see all those new initiatives that are coming forward. And these are just some of their logos. And in Totnes, we're really proud that we can actually work with our transition group, and we work very hard with the community. And what we're hoping to build is local resilience and a good model, which we share. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.